that when people have a lot of water, there is the danger that they will be sucked in. It's like there's no barriers with water. We are connected. We're open, and so that is a kind of vulnerability. And if we find ourselves being sucked into someone else's depression and misery, that water, it's like seeing someone in the quicksand and climbing in with them.
When that saddle cinch let go and dropped me into the stream, I didn't just fall into water. I fell into quicksand.
Which is not a good idea. So then you do have to back away, and any of the other three elements will get you out of that. You get into fire by just going into action, concentrating on what you want to do and doing something. Get into earth by doing something physical, practical, with tangible results, even if it's nothing but cleaning the house. And you get into air by detaching and understanding it and analyzing it and not getting connected to it, but just observing. So any of those other three elements will get you out of the water if you get too sensitive to someone else's intensities and depths. Sometimes being sucked in to other people's feelings. That's when you get into your air especially and practice detachment or just go off and do something. And fire and air are the antidote for the depression of earth and water. Earth and water tend to be like mud wading through the swamp. And it's heavy. And air and fire are the humor, the light touch, the ability to be, make a joke of it and let it go, not take it seriously.
Well, they're laughing on the outside but crying on the inside. They don't have the fire, air within their own nature.
But on the other hand, acting like we are doing it, like we have it, is the way to get it. Because the only way to change a habit is to make a new habit. So it's still right for them to do that, to keep trying to develop that air fire and get out of the swamp of earth and water. Now, it's better to practice the way you want to be able to develop the skill to be that way, than to stay in the swamp. So air is the spectator. Air is the ability to be detached, to be objective, to be logical, to understand, put it into words, communicate, and accept. So that's a very, very great asset when there's strong fire and water, to be able to back away and get out of that emotional being caught, tied up in the emotions, to just back away and logically understand it and let go, detach from it and let it go. And so air is a very important talent for people with a strong emotional warmth in the chart. Mood swings are typical with fire-water emphasis, to go from euphoria when you're doing your creative thing in the world, and to depression when it's blocked. And you know what you want and can't do it. So that's the big hazard of the fire-water emphasis, but it's a really strong emotional warmth. Those are the emotional elements, and combined, they're really, really warm, deep caring, deep emotional bonding with people, tremendous empathy and compassion and sensitivity with the water, and just ardent emotional expressiveness with the fire. So it's like everything, assets and hazards at the same time. Remember, the fire is, I should be able to do what I want. I know what I want. I ought to be able to do it. And the earth is, but there are some things you can do and some things you can't do and some things you have to do if you're going to be in this world, because that's the way this world is. We cannot do just anything we want all the time. So I think that's the major lesson there, to be able to channel that fire, will, and creativity and individuality and enthusiasm into something that will get tangible results for the earth, but to be satisfied with the fact that sometimes you have to accept what the world is willing to let you do, and it's not going to be everything that you want to do. The earth comes in and says, you still have to be practical about what's possible and what's necessary to be in this world. And the water comes in from the node, which is like the moon, and says, yes, you have to be empathic and think about the feelings and needs of others. It's a lesson, but it's not negative. It's just a growth area to channel your personal, individual creativity into something that will be practical, and to continue to recognize your rights and the rights of others, and not get overwhelmed by their needs. Be able to defend your own rights when you need to, but also be empathic enough to help them when you can. But the water emphasis will, with the potential for empathy and compassion, will frequently attract victims, people who need to be reassured and comforted and taken care of. There is a possibility you're repressing your own fire, because that's very much a fire thing, fire and air both. But fire is the exaggeration that always makes it bigger, more impressive, to impact people. And you do have so much of that fire in you, but it is potentially at war with the water and Saturn, which is Earth. And so if you're not doing it yourself in some way, what happens is you're attracted to other people who overdo it, projection. And then it offends you even more, because part of you wants to do it, and part of you won't let yourself do it. So the people who do it are even more offensive. I went through that as a kid growing up with a very dramatic Leo mother. And I went to the other extreme and overdid my Virgo as a response to her overdoing the Leo. And it wasn't until I went back to school in psychology that I finally realized what was going on with that. And I was projecting my Leo. I have a lot of Leo, but I projected it all on her, and she did the Leo, and she projected the Virgo on me, and I did the Virgo. We were like opposite ends on the seesaw. And so the more we don't do a part of ourselves, the more we are attracted to other people who do it excessively. Yeah, I think for people to be a counselor or a healer, they do need to have that ability to put up a barrier. You need to really be with the person and listen to them, but then you have to be able to let them go.